In last week's video, you picked your favorite early summer shelf look. Today, we're finishing the kitchen together. Hey, it's Becca. Welcome to my channel. Hands down, you all preferred the first look, which is this one. I changed it back, where I have the matching greenery across from each other diagonally and the green and white bowls across from each other as well. And as someone who loves symmetry, I was glad that you all preferred this look over the asymmetrical one. Now, since the last video, I made a couple of changes. Took away the cutting board, added cookbooks under the lamp instead, brought in a smaller plant, and took away the taller candle, opting for a little votive that I placed inside a simple bar glass. I also ended up taking away the pitcher filled with greenery that I added there to disguise the outlet. I just didn't like how it was competing with the two canisters that I had there. So once I removed that, I brought in this smaller matching canister instead, placed a wooden scoop in there, and I like how the scoop ties in with the oats, adds a little bit of warmth as well. So today we're going to finish up decorating the kitchen, starting right here above the cooktop. Now recently I had a mirror there. I really like having one there just because it helps to bounce the light around, which could be, sometimes a dark little spot. But I found something else instead. Isn't this pretty? I recently found it at Kirkland's. Love the landscape art and the varying shades of green and beige, ivory, white, little bit of blue. I think it's going to tie in really nicely with the colors that I've got going on in here. And while I like the gold frame, I'm going to make one little change just so that it works a bit better with the handles and knobs that we have here in the kitchen. Using my favorite gold leaf rub and buff, just going to dab a little bit onto the frame. Just by adding that tiny bit of rub and buff, you can see how it matches the knobs a little bit better now. Moving on to this little corner, the first thing I'm going to do is just place these two white faux books. I'm going to angle them out, and they're just going to act as a riser for the lamp. Next, I'm just bringing in a go-to pitcher that I usually have here filled with my little wooden spoons and spatulas. And then I'm just going to add one pop of greenery. All right, moving on to this little cabinet. Truth be told, I am thinking about adding the doors back just because I'm craving a cleaner look in here. So don't be surprised if next time we're hanging out in here, this is all covered up. But for now, I'm just going to add a few simple elements, again, continuing a bit of color and warmth. I like how the cutting boards offer some contrast for the pictures so they don't just fade into the brick backsplash. And looking at this, I probably could have added pedestals below the green bowl, so I may end up going back to do that. I still really like this DIY wall plate rack that I did a few years ago, but it needs some color. Gonna keep the cutting boards and white plates. I switched out the spring mugs for boring white ones, but like I said, it needs a pop of something. Now, I don't have any plates with pattern or color that I want to use. However, I do have an idea. How about I use cookbooks? They can act as the artwork, and they'll bring in the pop of color that this little spot needs. Now in this middle section, I thought it might be fun to open the cookbook to pages that have a really cute spring or summer setting. One last touch, adding this little hook and dish towel. Here we are at my husband's tiny coffee bar. Well, it's not even a bar. Coffee station, if you will. Same mug tree we've had for a few years. However, I did get something new. These really pretty coffee mugs. I love their almost ombre design, how it fades into the beige. I really like that on the base it doesn't have a label, so if the back of it is facing out, you don't see a label. It's just nice and clean. It's got a great handle. It's really sturdy. I'll link these below in case you're always on the hunt for a good coffee mug. But I'm just going to hang them on the tree, and I really like that they'll have the contrast with the white. Over on this set of shelves, I'm going to do something pretty similar to what I did to the other shelves, just to tie everything together. And then over here, I'm bringing in another faux book. Lamps, a little bit of ambiance. More greenery. And then this really whimsical artichoke. Now let's do a little vignette on the island. First, I could bring in this big old arrangement that I had in the dining room. I could leave it just like this, only having one item on the countertop, which frees up a lot of counter space. Or I could just add a couple things around it. First, turning it at an angle. And then bringing in these faux croissants and buns. I could then add a few faux apples right in front. And then I could leave it just like this. So I've got a pop of brown. I'm continuing the green where I have it up top. I've got it down below. And I love odd numbers. But if I wanted to finish this off, there's one more thing I'd consider adding. Now if I add this hurricane with the woven base, I like how it ties in with the faux bread across from it. But if I leave it like this, I need to do a little readjusting. All right, I readjusted it a little bit. I even added some books under the candle. So I've just got this little quad thing going on. However, I still have plenty of room on the countertop for eating or work purposes. Before we have a look around, wanted to mention that I really didn't do anything at each end of the island, just took a couple of items away. So I kept the white cutting board and pictures, and pretty sure I had the dish towel here before. And the brown element now is the island itself. Same thing over on this end. Very basic. All right, my friends, that's it for today. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video and will consider subscribing to my channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.